Howdy everyone. This is Andy with Mouse Out of the House, and we are going to be talking a little bit today about how I make my animated shorts, cartoons, random series concepts, and whatever other harebrained ideas I care to pass off as animation. This is far from an end-all be-all way of making these type of animations or any animation. This is just the way that I do it. So, if you have not already seen any of my animated shorts, let me introduce you to some of my characters. Drawing on inspiration from the old school Hanna-Barbera cartoons my grandmother and I would watch as a child, came Flamingo and Shrimpy. These are the main subjects of today's video, and we can see our main characters, Flamingo, the flamingo, and Shrimpy, the shrimp. Their story is one as old as time, a flamingo that wants to eat a shrimp, but this shrimp has an engineering degree. They are a traditional cat and mouse duo. Flamingo actually came out of an abstract scribble drawing I did one day that somehow snowballed into this. When I first started attempting animation 2 years ago, I did so out of a passion for old school Japanese cell-frame, Disney, and Adult Swim styled animations, as well as to learn additional skills to bring to my job as an editor for the podcast To Talk on the Wild Side. It quickly became a passionate hobby that I've tried to get better and better at with each project. Speaking of improvements, one of the goals for this video is to get double the total animation time I had previously made for Flamingo and Shrimpy. The 30-some-odd seconds of animation I had for the first 4 pieces of the chase took me a few days in total to complete, and I want to make an equal amount or more of animation with an overall higher quality than what I made 2 years ago, in one day. So let's get started. Looking at what Shrimpy looked like in the last animation, I knew I needed to rework him, so that's what's been kind of going on in the background. Reworking the character was more painless than I had expected. I having learned some new tricks of using Blender to actually move my 2D animations around, but to do this you need to have your character split down into all of the movable joints, kind of like a 3D rig, but with a bunch of 2D pieces. With all the previous animations of this duo focused primarily on Flamingo, I wanted to start being able to showcase Shrimpy as well. I knew I needed to redraw him in a larger size with more detail, with each of his legs and arms that I wanted to move being a different PNG file that I could overlay using the alpha over and under controls on Blender. I having attempted this dotted detail style that you're seeing in the background, which I'm not really doing a good job of, but somehow I really like how Shrimpy ended up with it. So, continuing on where the fourth part left off, Shrimpy had driven down an island road, narrowly escaping Flamingo. I think with this part, we're going to have Shrimpy down the road some ways, broken down in his car. So, we're going to need some backgrounds. I'm not exactly sure how other people's projects come together. Mine generally start with some sort of storyline or script, and then come characters, and then backgrounds. But with this stuff, just a basic storyline has, as of now, sufficed. But if you get into longer forms of animation, I have found it super helpful for myself to get a script done so I can plan out the timing or length of animation or dialogue you actually need to complete each section of your animation. We will go with the basic storyline that Shrimpy has broken down on the side of the road and he's working on his car when he hears Flamingo approaching on his 18-wheeler, inspired by a movie that was popular at one time. So I figure I need 2 to 3 backgrounds to be able to accomplish this. Nothing super crazy, but I have gone from drawing my backgrounds in the same program that I do my character design in, which is FlipaClip, to doing my backgrounds either by hand in Paint or through a browser-based program called Pixlr. I've been using this program alongside Blender to get results that I like in my animations. I'm sure one day there'll be further programs, or maybe different ones entirely, but for now I like what I've been able to conceptualize using Pixlr, Blender, Audacity, and FlipaClip. Once the backgrounds are done and stored, I can start layering everything out in Blender. This way I can overlay all my different PNG pieces to create movement. This animation was done at 12 frames per second and at a screen size of 720p. I find that a comfortable setting to get quick and easy projects done, but more serious projects may want to consider 24 frames per second for its smoothness and ability to convey more complex movement. With all the pieces in Blender, we can start the actual animation process of setting location and timing, rotation, all the different things for each image frame. Blender has a lot of really cool tools that allow you to move things around in a very precise way, as well as adding transitions and controlling frame length of each file. I've essentially just stacked a lot of different layers of things. So like on the bottom here we have the 36 frames, which just because of the way I timed it ended up being more than 3 seconds. And you can do stuff like that, like if it's smooth enough for like visual movement, like that cloud moving there in the top left corner. Like to me it's not so bad. Like that's just a normal slow cloud movement. To me that was acceptable. Things don't have to be perfect, they can be what you want them to be. And then you can see all the little pieces that I've stacked on top of one another to create an alpha over situation, to where then you can place your main body and then place all your little limbs underneath, to where then you can maneuver those limbs however you want. So if I highlight everything, you should be able to see all the little pieces that are there, and how I have just that top claw. We'll zoom in some. How I just have that top claw just alternating between 2 different frames, but because it's so pulled out, you can't really tell what he's doing. You can just see that he's messing with the car. It allows you to have a huge amount of control over 2D pieces in what is here a 2D environment, but Blender's main function is a 3D modeling and rendering program, so the possibilities here really are endless. But after a bunch of grueling clicks and bangs, we have a file. If any of you would like to see the actual step-by-step for this process, I'm happy to make a video, but it felt like it was overkill for the purpose of this one. So here we have our final product. A lot of images and drawings went into this 40-second short, which at 12 frames per second is exactly 480 frames. But using the techniques I talked about above, I was able to make almost all of it from scratch, even going so far as to record some of the sound effects myself. So here it is, Flamingo Approaches.
DJ Lil Sprite, this is
85 now, that's above my time. Cabin fever.
I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have not already, please like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our content. This is Andy, signing off.